Rahn is an incredibly talented artist who created this piece of art, which is now one of my D&D favorites. This is actually from a game he played with Richard Witters at Wizards of the Coast. So I talked to Chris about what it's like to make art for Magic the Gathering and D&D.
One of my first clients when I got out of art school was Magic the Gathering. Like, I got out and I was just kind of flailing my arms for 6 months working on portfolio pieces, and amazingly I got the call to work on Magic, which was it's something you don't get to luck into like that very often. Not a lot of people do anyway. So I started very young, and it was kind of like being dropped on a treadmill that was going very, very fast. And I actually worked on Magic for quite a while before I did anything for D&D. After I did some concept art in-house for Magic, I got to know the people that work on D&D pretty well, and they were kind of looking over my shoulder and eventually called me in to do concept art for Storm King's Thunder campaign a few years ago, or 3 years ago, I guess, something like that. I think it was the first concept push that they'd done for D&D at that point, at least as far as I know. They were still kind of getting everything lined up. But yeah, it was me and Tyler, and brought us in, and it just worked out. So then we did another push pretty soon after that, and then after that, then I got to do a bunch of final art that wound up in Storm King's Thunder and on a bunch of packaging art and that kind of stuff. But I've just always drawn. I was the kid in the back of class that was just drawing monsters and reading books about mythology, and I was, reading X-Men and trying to draw Wolverine perfectly when I was 8, that kind of thing. And, I was terrible, but eventually you slowly work your way up. And then at some point I decided that I wanted to be serious about it, and went to art school. Style's a weird thing. Sometimes I feel like style can't really be intentional. It's just kind of how your brain works. Like, in a way, you're trying to make something look real. I mean, especially when you're dealing with fantasy art, you're trying to make something that doesn't exist look like a plausible reality. So it's almost like the style is what's left over from just the specific way that this one guy's brain works, trying to bring that thing into reality. Being able to look at a character in the book and like, you're fighting this guy right now, and like, look at his axe, and there's some little dude next to him for scale or something, and you realize, like, oh, a storm giant's actually that big, not just some kind of mysterious description, which can vary so much. At least as a super visual person, that's what I get from it when I play. It helps a lot to have really inspiring art to look at while you're trying to visualize this crazy world. My first D&D experience was quite late. It was on the first D&D concept push. I mean, I'd always been a fan of the books. I actually bought a bunch of the books when I was in high school just because I liked the art so much, but I just didn't have a social circle that was into it. So I played some Magic the Gathering back when I was in school, but yeah, I mean, in a way, I'm kind of lucky beyond words, because the first people that showed me how D&D works is like the art director for D&D DMing my game, and teaching me which dice to use and all this stuff. So yeah, that was a really awesome experience. And we still play with that crew every once in a while whenever me and Danny are in town.